So we are going to uh, start with the next partnerships chapter. And this chapter is basically about the structural changes. This is purely an A-level thing. O-level accounting में ये exist नहीं करता था. So at this point, I think the entire class is at par now because these chapters are all going to be new chapters for everyone. So the partnership changes, the title of the next chapter. The changes that we are talking about are the structural changes. Or with structural changes, there are quite a few actually, but we are only concerned with a few ones. The first one is what happens when we admit a new partner in the business. So admission of a new partner, that is the first structural change that we will consider. आपका जो previous chapter था जिसके अंदर आप partnerships के appropriation accounts बनाते हैं, current accounts वगैरह बनाते हैं, वो chapter अपनी integrity उसी तरह से maintain करेगा और उसी के further जो spillovers हैं वो यहाँ पे भी आएंगे. But now we are going to see things in a what you can say in more details because we will be making financial statements of the partnership along with the structural changes. So what happens when a new partner joins the business? So admission of a new partner has to be seen in a slightly different light. Partnership Act 1890 आपको बताता है कि आप पार्टनरशिप डीड जब भी रिवाइज करते हैं then it's no more the same business. So I think Alina Wakas asked me in the last class, partners cannot change their capital account balances because then partners के capital account balances अगर change कर जाएंगे तो फिर partnership deed null and void हो जाएगी, which is true, right? That does not mean that it is not possible for partners to amend any term or any condition within the partnership deed. It's just that every time they decide to make an amendment in the existing partnership deed, then Partnership Act 1890 says that the existing business stands dissolved and a new business replaces the existing business because business entity principle has to be kept in mind at all times. So if we are looking at admission of a new partner, then we need to see it according to the Partnership Act 1890 and the legal framework under that. We need to see it like this, right? So the existing firm, let's say that consists of partners A and B, right? So that existing firm is no more there. A new firm where C joins in, right? So the new firm now consists of partners A, B, and C. And this new firm is going to sort of literally take over, not literally, symbolically take over the existing firm of partners A and B. So every time a structural change happens, like in this case, for an example, we're taking admission of a new partner. That is the first structural change that we will deal with. We will consider that the partnership of A and B is no more there, and a new firm created which consists of partners A, B, and C, and that new firm is taking over the existing firm. That's how accounting treatment is going to be designed. Accounting interpretation is that the new firm consisting of A, B, and C acquires the old firm that is represented by partners A and B. We should not see the situation from A and B's perspective, because that would be the owner's perspective. We will see the situation from the business entity's perspective. So business entity के perspective से अगर आप देखें तो एक business entity dissolve हो रही है और वो dissolve इस तरह से हो रही है कि एक दूसरी business entity उसको acquire कर रही है. So that is how we are going to deal with all the accounting procedures are going to be aligned in this based on this assumption. So a hand raise if we understand that how the transition will take place. Okay. Right. Now, So now let's see, why would A and B be interested in getting C on board. So C को join करने की reasons A और B की वही होंगी जो किसी भी partnership के बनने की reasons होती हैं, क्योंकि partners A or B probably require more capital. Maybe that is one of the reasons why they want C to join in their existing business, existing partnership business, right? Or maybe C has some special skill set or some specialized experience, or he will be able to bring in new ideas and the skill and risk and responsibility sharing. So basically, inviting C into the business has the same reasons as formation of partnership. There's no difference over there. So you need probably more capital, you need new ideas, you need new skill set, you need experience, and also C के join करने से risk and responsibility sharing भी एक certain cushion add हो जाएगा. So A और B की reasons तो ये हैं कि why would they be interested in inviting C. But a more important area is the point of view of C. Why would C be interested in joining A and B's partner? However, A and B may have some concerns, right? And those concerns are कि C के join in करने से A और B के आपस में तो एक understanding है probably, so there is a possibility that difference of opinion arise कर सकता है, and they will end up sharing relatively lower proportions of profit share, since a third partner C is also going to be sharing in profit. So these are some these are some pros and cons over here कि A और B का thought process क्या कह रहा है, कि वो क्यों चाहते हैं कि C admit हो जाए business के अंदर, because they will be able to, you know, have more capital, new skill set and everything. However, at the expense of having all these benefits, you may have difference of opinion later on. You may have some conflicts and rifts possibly in future. And at the same time, financial point of view, ये होगा कि आप कम profit share करेंगे compared to before. पहले profit अगर A और B आपस में share कर रहे थे, so they probably had relatively higher proportions of profit to share. Now C के आने के बाद they will have lower profit share. So if on this slide, if there is anything you need to ask, then do. Otherwise, raise your hand ताकि मैं अगली slide पे चला जाऊँ. All good. Good. So now this is more important. This slide is more important. C की reasons क्या है? अगर आप A और B को represent कर रहे हैं और मैं C को represent कर रहा हूँ, तो what advantage would I get if I join an existing running partnership? If I have money to invest, why can't I start my own business from scratch? Because if I start my business from scratch, I will be the sole proprietor of the owner. I can exercise all the idealism I want to exercise without any intervention from any other partners or any other problems. So C के पास एक बहुत strong option है कि वो अपना business zero से as a proprietor, as the sole owner शुरू करे. लेकिन अगर C partner को join कर रहा है, partnership businesses, एक existing partnership business को अगर वो join कर रहा है, then those reasons should be good enough reasons for C to change his mind. Sorry about that. So C, any ideas before I start revealing those points? Any ideas? Why would C be interested? Why would C be willing to give up all that freedom and all that flexibility that he would enjoy if he were to start his own business as a sole owner or proprietor? And chat के अंदर हम देखते हैं, अलीशा ने कहा risk or loss will be shared. That is one reason. C will be able to share the risk. There is a big risk involved in starting a new business, Alicia. Excellent, right? There's a big risk involved in starting a new business, and that risk will be shared, or that risk will completely go away if C joins in a running business. Maheen has also written, Maheen says the other partners have experience and business might have good reputation, so less risk of business failure. Excellent, Maheen. Alicia and Maheen are on the same page as far as I can read them. Hadia says C may not have all the skills. Yeah, that is also one of the reasons. Hadia, हो सकता है C को अकेले बिजनेस स्टार्ट करते हुए इस चीज़ का डर हो क्योंकि उसके पास रिक्वायर्ड स्किल सेट नहीं है. तो ए और बी चूँकि ऑलरेडी एक्सपीरियंसड हैं, उनके बिजनेस ऑलरेडी इस्टेब्लिश हुआ हुआ है, सो सी माइट सी विल डेफिनेटली हैव अ बिग एडवांटेज ओवर देयर. Yes, true. So actually, if we see all the 3 points as Alicia, Maheen, and Hadia have mentioned, they all boil down to one thing. And that one thing is the risk of starting a new business from scratch. This is the key point, and that is why C is a bit apprehensive over here and is more interested in joining the new partnership business, right? So अभी हम इन risks को भी one by one देखते हैं. So the first thing is that have you heard the term infant mortality? Infant mortality, right? Do we understand the term infant mortality? Let me just, right? Infant mortality, right? Infant mortality is the rate of mortalities among the newborns. Mortality, right? So infant mortality is a high rate of infant mortality is basically an indicator of the healthcare services of a country. अगर आपके पास high infant mortality rate है तो इसका मतलब वो basically it's used as an indicator that the mother and the child care is not up to the mark. Business world के अंदर, so to speak, infant mortality is very high. That means newborn businesses, they have a little chance to survive. They have to struggle very hard to become what we say going concern. हमने going concern principle पढ़ा हुआ है ना, एक business एक a foreseeable future के अंदर dissolve नहीं होगा and it will continue to operate in a smooth and legal fashion. So एक business को going concern बनने के अंदर बहुत time लगता है and the business has to go through a lot of hardships to eventually become a going concern. And a lot of businesses do not become going concerns and they fizzle down. They just fail and they collapse before they ever become a going concern. So you can say that infant mortality rate is quite high in the business world, and that is what forcing C to be a part of an already existing running establishment, क्योंकि वो ऑलरेडी एक गोइंग कंसर्न बन चुकी है और किसी को खुद से वो रिस्क नहीं लेना पड़ेगा जो कि अदरवाइज एक न्यू बिजनेस फ्रॉम स्क्रैच शुरू करने के लिए उसको लेना पड़ेगा. So this is what the answers Alicia and Maheen and Hadia have mentioned. Sorry, मेरे आज सांस जरा थोड़ा सा खराब हुआ है. So that is the first reason. C के लिए सबसे बड़ी important reason यहाँ पर ये होगी that C has to avoid these disadvantages which are associated with that risk of starting a business from scratch. And what are those disadvantages or what are the risks involved? Let me show them one by one and I'm sure you will agree with that. The first, I've noted down a few typical examples over here for that risks. The first thing that the new business, if C opts for a new business from scratch, the first thing that C have to make a compromise on is going to be a good strategic business location. Why? Because अच्छी strategic business locations already established going concerns ले चुकी होंगी. So पहला compromise जो एक new born को एक startup को करना पड़ता है वो ये कि आपके पास कोई अच्छी strategic business location available नहीं होती, और अगर होती भी है तो options आपके पास कम होती हैं बहुत. So that is the first compromise C will have to make if C goes for his own business from scratch. The second bigger disadvantage that C has to, or a compromise that C has to make, is the quality of staff. So चूंकि C का business एक नया business है और C के business का going concern status अभी established नहीं हुआ हुआ, so C's business is a risky business even for professionals. So tier one professionals will not be interested in an employment with C either, because C's business itself has a big question mark as far as the survival in future is concerned. So जितने भी tier one professionals होंगे वो they would prefer कि वो किसी ऐसी establishment के साथ अपने careers को associate करें जिसकी फ्यूचर के अंदर एग्जिस्टेंस जो है एक सर्टन है. सी के बिजनेस की फ्यूचर एग्जिस्टेंस अनसर्टन है. सो ऑलरेडी जो टीयर वन प्रोफेशनल्स होंगे वो शायद इंटरेस्टेड नहीं होंगे. सो सी विल हैव टू मेक अ कॉम्प्रोमाइज on the quality of staff that C will hire. Let me get some water. Just a second, मैं पानी ले आता हूँ. Okay, yeah. So, so C will have to make a compromise on the quality of staff, and this particular compromise will have more deeper effects as well. Because if the staff quality has been compromised, then most likely the compromise of the quality of product, the quality of product be compromised ho chuki hogi, or the service is also compromised because of relatively inexperienced staff. And if that is the case, then you will suffer trust deficit with customers and financial institutions and suppliers. So you will not have a good, credible reputation to have developed that trustworthy relationship with others, because your quality of service or the quality of product has been compromised because of the reason that you have a compromised, inexperienced staff, and you don't have a strategic business location. So it's going to be very difficult for a newborn business to go past those losses. Initially, new businesses will have to suffer a lot of losses because customer loyalty will take time to build up. And if the new business is strong enough to survive through those years of losses, only then it will emerge as a going concern on the other side. And then people will start trusting that business. They will, because the business has become already established and it has already taken its share of hardships. So now people will trust him. Banks aapko aasani se karze denge, and so on and so forth. So these are the reasons C is apprehensive about starting his or her own business. So please give me a hand raise if you understand all these points, right? Hmm. Okay, good. All right. Hadia has asked a question. Hadia says, do the same reasons apply to online businesses? Online business may probably strategic business location doesn't apply, obviously. But online businesses will have to develop, they need some time to develop their reputation. For example, agar aapne online transaction karni hai, you have an option with some unknown online vendor compared to Daraz.pk or AliExpress online, then who would you prefer to do this transaction with, right? Online transactions have a lot of risk associated with them because as a consumer, आप अपना credit card number उनको दे रहे होंगे. So who would you trust more? People who are already established and they have a credible reputation among the financial institutions and the other consumers, right? So obviously, not all of these points will apply to the online businesses, but in spirit, it remains the same. The discussion remains the same. Good question, Hadia, right? Okay, आगे चलें फिर हम. Okay, lower the hands, and now we will see. So all of these points that we mentioned that can sum up to a single term called goodwill. A newborn business will have to struggle a lot, and it has to go through a number of years of hardships to earn goodwill, right? Whereas an existing established business अगर C join कर लेता है, तो उस existing established business already वो सारी की सारी hardships cover कर चुका हुआ है और उसकी already एक credible reputation market में बनी हुई है. In other words, that existing establishment who has already become a going concern already bears goodwill, the fruits of goodwill, right? So C could avoid all of these setbacks associated with the new startups by joining an already running business, right? And an existing business which is already past that infant mortality stage, so to speak, and has become a going concern, is readily enjoying the customer loyalty and credible reputation with banks and suppliers and all that, is said to have acquired goodwill. सो सी के लिए एक बहुत बड़ा बेनिफिट होगा अगर वो अपना बिजनेस जीरो से स्टार्ट करने के बजाय ए और बी की रनिंग पार्टनरशिप ज्वाइन इन कर लेगा, तो उसको ये बहुत सारे बेनिफिट्स जो है उसके लिए कोई एफर्ट नहीं करनी पड़ेगी, कोई रिस्क नहीं लेना पड़ेगा, और वो रेडीली गुडविल एंजॉय करने की पोजीशन में आ जाएगा, राइट? सो वी अंडरस्टैंड दिस पॉइंट, देन प्लीज गिव मी अ हैंड रेज. And this particular point actually tells you that it is far better an idea for C to join in with A and B rather than starting a business from his own, because there are so many risks associated with a startup, a fresh startup, compared to associating it with an already established business, right? All right, so there are a few hands that I don't see, but I assume that they don't have any issues, right? Okay, excellent. We have 15 people present. So that means Marukh is the only one absent. Okay. Chalo, theek hai. Then the second point, the new firm's owners must bear the cost of goodwill for enjoying the old firm's going concern status. Now, if I take you back to that first slide here, so basically, since we have to see this situation from business entities perspective and not from the owners, so a structural change will create a new firm. This new firm is going to be created, and this new firm will be considered as a new startup. And since this new firm is going to take over the operations of the existing going concern, the new firm के owners जो भी हैं यहाँ पे, उनको old firm के owners को goodwill pay करना पड़ेगी. So goodwill, अब accounting interpretation हम इसकी अब देख रहे हैं. चूंकि नई firm के owners को एक head start मिल गया right away, उनको एक बना बनाया going concern establishment उन्होंने inherit किया from the old firm, तो new firm के owners जो भी हैं उनको goodwill pay करना पड़ेगी to old firm's owners to justify acquiring the going concern status of the old firm, right? This is a very critical point here. So please let me know if you understand this. Raise your hand if you understand this this interpretation, that since the new business entity is going to enjoy the going concern concept of a going concern status of the old firm readily without making any effort, without taking any risks. So new firm के owners को literally a business अगर खरीद रहे हैं, हम इसको इस तरह से देखेंगे as if this business is being purchased. So the new firm's owners are going to pay for the goodwill to the old firm, right? Everyone, please, मैं wait करूँगा for all the hand raises because this is a very critical point, and आपकी जितनी भी accounting treatment है goodwill की वो सब की सब इस point के ऊपर based है. So let me just make it here. So the new firm is going to pay goodwill. Goodwill is going to pay it back to the old firm. So now the critical point over here is that since A and B are common in both the places, A and B old firm में भी है और new firm में भी है, so A and B old firm के owner की हैसियत से वो goodwill receive कर रहे होंगे, और A, B and C new firm के owners की capacity में उनको goodwill pay कर रहे होंगे. So A and B के लिए थोड़ी सी ये एक confusing situation बन जाएगी later on when we deal with the goodwill treatment. But we need to understand we cannot see any accounting operations from individuals' point of view. We will always see it from the business's entity's point of view. So whoever owns the new firm has to pay goodwill to the old firm's owners, right? So old firm के owners goodwill को receive goodwill उनके लिए एक तरह का gain होगा, और new firm के owners के लिए goodwill एक तरह की cost होगी. That is fundamentally, in essence, the accounting treatment for goodwill. So lower all the hands and we will move back to the same slide. That was here, we were here, right? Okay, so we were done with the first point. We were done with the second point. The second point. So the new firm's owners must bear the cost of goodwill for enjoying the old firm's going concern status. This is what we just discussed. And that means that goodwill treatment, अच्छा ये तो खैर हम already देख चुके हैं, goodwill treatment in the books will be done from the business entity's point of view and not from the owners. We know that. And that means goodwill is going to be a cost for the new firm's owners, which are A, B, and C, and a benefit for the old firm's owners, which are A and B, right? So point number 4 is the most important point over here to understand all the further treatment of goodwills over here. Right? So, and finally, what do we have here? अच्छा, point number 5 अभी हम थोड़ी देर के लिए postpone करेंगे. Point number 5 is about alternative treatments of goodwill. We will discuss the alternative treatments when we are done with the basic treatments of goodwill. It tells us basically that partners in the new firm, they may decide to write off goodwill immediately, which is the preferred treatment, or to retain it in the books and defer the treatment to a later date, which is not a preferred treatment. The alternative treatments will be discussed in more detail on a later stage. Yeah. So for now, just ignore point number 5. Filhal, we will discuss point number 5 after we have done a few practice questions on goodwill treatment. So point number 1, 2, 3, and 4. If you understood everything, then please raise your hand. Then I will move on to the problem solving part. Ignore point number 5. We will discuss point number 5 later on. Just the first 4 points. If you understand everything on the first 4 points, then let me know. I believe all of them are here. Okay, Fajr. Got it. ठीक है. I think that is it. ठीक है. Now let's move to our book. There is a question. अच्छा नहीं. ठीक है. Asma has raised her hand. Okay, good. Let's get. And this is NM17, I think. Partnership changes. Right. So now partnership changes. We are done with the first formality involved in a structural change, and that is goodwill treatment. There is another one coming up later on. We will do it tomorrow. That will be revaluation. But today we are only going to focus on goodwill treatment. So turn to page number 216, 17.1. And once you have it, then raise your hand. फिर मैं शुरू करूँगा. Right. Yeah, only 7 hand raises so far. What about the remaining 8? Okay. Now, let's go through this question. We are going to use this question as an example to understand the treatment for goodwill. Double entry treatment kya hogi goodwill ki? Andy and Barry are partners in partnership business, and who share profits and losses as 2-to-1 ratio. They decided to admit Cherry as a partner from 1st January 20x6 on the condition that he will invest $20,000 in the business. Capital accounts of Andy and Barry at that date were $60,000 and $40,000 respectively, and the new profit loss sharing ratio between Andy, Barry, and Cherry would be 3, 2, and 1. Goodwill at that point is calculated at $30,000, and it is the policy of the partnership to write off goodwill immediately after it arises. I will explain the meaning of this statement. This is the same point number 5 that we had to, for now, forgo right now. I will explain the meaning of this statement after we're done with this question. The first thing that we need to understand is that how partners come across this value of goodwill. Now, goodwill, as we have seen so far, goodwill is basically a symbolic representation of all those benefits that a going concern enjoys at the moment compared to a new startup, and that startup has to go through a lot of, जैसे आप वो एक गेम होती है ना वो लेडर्स एंड स्नेक्स वाली, ठीक है, सो आप वो लेडर्स एंड स्नेक्स खेलते हैं and then sometimes you get a ladder and you move up and you bypass all those snakes in between, and if you get bitten by a snake you come back to the you come back to square one, right? So a new startup has to go past all these snakes बच बचा के, लेकिन इस केस में चेरी को एक लेडर अपॉर्चुनिटी मिल रही है, राइट? So Cherry is going to take that ladder and bypass all those snakes, and that means न्यू फार्म के ओनर्स जो भी है, जिनमें एंडी एंड बैरी भी होंगे चेरी के साथ, वो फिर मिल के ए और बी को अपनी गुडविल पे करेंगे. So what we have to do is required is that we have to show the effects of goodwill adjustments on the capital partners, and we have to prepare the capital accounts as well. So let me just make it smaller, make my working paper bigger. So a good idea is to make a goodwill account, right? There are many different ways of calculating the values of the goodwill, right? Or treatment for goodwill. So the best way or the easiest of all is making a goodwill account. And at the same time, we are going to be making the capital accounts here for three partners, Andy, Barry, and Cherry, right? Right, that's the capital account. And the capital account has a starting balance brought down on the credit side. Andy has $60,000 and Barry have $40,000, and C doesn't have anything because C did not exist in the previous firm. So this capital account is going to transform into basically this particular capital account. जो भी changes यहाँ पर आ रहे हैं वो सारे के सारे capital account के changes जो हैं, they will show the transition from the old firm to the new firm. The balance brought down over here is representing your old firm here, right? So the old firm's owners have $60,000 and $40,000 of capital, and since C was not a part of the old firm, so there is no capital over here. C will bring in his capital, whatever that capital would be. Let me see वो कितना है. अच्छा, C का कैपिटल उसने $20,000 लेकर आना है, सो वो अभी हम इंट्रोड्यूस करते हैं. डू यू एग्री कि C जब कैपिटल लेकर आएगा, सो वो क्रेडिट साइड पे यहाँ पर आ जाएगा $20,000, right? We agree with the C's admission entry on the credit side of capital account, right? Because we know capital account is an obligation for the business entity. On the credit side, capital increases, debit side, capital decreases. So C is bringing in $20,000 as his capital. So that entry should be on the credit side, right? Right. Okay, so now let's treat the goodwill, right? Now goodwill, first of all, how we calculate goodwill. Over here in this question, goodwill has been valued at $30,000. But goodwill, as we know, is basically a symbolic representation of all those benefits. Now, goodwill has an inherent problem here. And that inherent problem is that goodwill is directly conflicting with one fundamental accounting principle. Can you recall the name of that accounting principle which with which goodwill has a conflict with? Can you think of one? Goodwill, अभी तक हमने देखा है वो क्या है, वो सब के सब benefits हैं जो कि एक established business enjoy करता है by developing its good reputation, by having a good strategic location, by enjoying a good quality of staff and good quality of product and good quality of service, by having by enjoying these good relationship with other financial institutions and customer loyalty, and the list goes on, right? So all of these benefits associated, in this case, we have determined that 30,000 is the value of the goodwill, but that 30,000 determination of value of goodwill is basically conflicting with one particular accounting concept. And Maheen says materiality. Maheen, no, the correct answer is money measurement principle. Remember money measurement principle, that accounting only revolves around events or business areas which can be measured in money terms, right? तो मनी टर्म्स के अंदर अगर आप मेजर करेंगे किसी इवेंट को, तभी वो एज अ ट्रांजैक्शन आपकी बुक्स में आप एंटर कर सकते हैं. द प्रॉब्लम ओवर हियर इज, हादिया, नो, इट्स नॉट कंसिस्टेंसी, इट्स मनी मेजरमेंट प्रिंसिपल. The problem with Goodwill is that how do partners decide $30,000 is going to be the value for all these benefits? I mean, it's a very, there is no connection between $30,000 value of Goodwill compared to, how do they decide that customer loyalty and relationship with other financial institutions and the quality of service or quality of staff and quality of product, all of these things together give them $30,000 of benefit? There is no set, but you can say if you buy a piece of machinery from the market, you spend $20,000 on buying that piece of machinery, then you say that it is worth $20,000 because you paid $20,000 for that. But how would you assign a value of $30,000 of goodwill? So this is the problem. And that is why the point number 5 says that the preferred treatment is that goodwill is going to be written off, because the reason why goodwill needs to be written off, and that is the preferred treatment for inherent goodwill, is that the inherent goodwill of a business cannot be measured in money terms, but you still are doing it. Because if you don't do this, then पार्टनर्स के दरमियान वो फिर जस्टिस नहीं हो सकेगा. जिन पार्टनर्स ने रिस्क लिया था इस बिजनेस को स्टार्ट करने का, उनको उसका रिवॉर्ड मिलना चाहिए, और उनको उसका रिवॉर्ड गुडविल की फॉर्म में मिलेगा. लेकिन अगर हम गुडविल को वैल्यू नहीं कर सकते मनी की टर्म्स में, तो फिर हम उनको कैसे रिवॉर्ड देंगे? सो वी आर सॉर्ट ऑफ, what we can say, we are departing from the money measurement principle over here. And since we are violating one principle over here, then the preferred treatment is that the goodwill account should not be allowed to stand permanently in the books. It should be written off from the books. That was the point number 5. After this class, we are going to go back to point number 5. So things are going to be a little technical over here. So the problem is goodwill चूंकि conflict कर रहा है money measurement principle के साथ, तो फिर goodwill को आपकी बुक्स में एग्जिस्ट नहीं करना चाहिए. नंबर 1. नंबर 2, अगर गुडविल आपकी बुक्स में एग्जिस्ट नहीं करेगी, तो फिर उन पार्टनर्स को उनके रिस्क का रिवॉर्ड कैसे दिया जाएगा? दैट इज द प्रॉब्लम, राइट? सो दैट प्रॉब्लम इज सॉल्व्ड बाय associating a hypothetical value to goodwill. In this case, we assume it's $30,000. But then there is a way to do this. और वो कैसे होगा? हम goodwill को कैसे calculate करते हैं? There are many different ways. One of the ways of calculating goodwill is that you determine the purchase consideration and you compare it with the net assets with the net assets worth in the statement of financial position, right? Purchase consideration का मतलब क्या होता है? Purchase consideration का मतलब होता है purchase price of a going concern if business is to be sold in its running condition to an interested buyer. So the purchase price or purchase consideration is the purchase price of your business in its running condition as a going concern if you are to sell this business in its current state to an interested party. So अगर मैं मेरा एक बिजनेस है जिसकी नेट एसेट्स वर्थ का मतलब क्या होता है, एसेट्स माइनस लाइबिलिटीज, है ना. सो ये मेरी स्टेटमेंट ऑफ फाइनेंशियल पोजीशन के अंदर सारे एसेट्स को सारी लाइबिलिटीज़ को सारे एसेट्स से सब्ट्रैक्ट कर दें तो मेरे स्टेटमेंट ऑफ फाइनेंशियल पोजीशन की नेट एसेट्स वर्थ निकल आएगी. तो अगर आप अपने बैलेंस शीट की नेट वर्थ डिटर्मिन करें और वो $100,000 आती है, लेट्स से वो $100,000 आती है, would you be willing to sell your existing running going concern at the same value, $100,000? Obviously not, because if you are to sell this to someone, you are going to charge that someone the reward for taking all that risk for goodwill or so on. So if this interested party is willing to pay you $120,000 or let's say $130,000, right? So that means the difference between these two now can be determined in money terms, and that would be $30,000 of goodwill. Because if an interested party is willing to pay you $130,000 for your business in its running condition, which is worth $100,000, then why are they paying you $30,000 extra? That must be because of the goodwill. So what these partners must have done beforehand, उन्होंने अपने बिजनेस की एक हाइपोथेटिकल वैल्यूएशन करवाई होगी कि अगर कोई इंटरेस्टेड पार्टी उनके इस बिजनेस को रनिंग कंडीशन में, ए और बी के रनिंग कंडीशन के अंदर ये बिजनेस एक्वायर करना चाहे तो वो कितने में बिकेगा. सो पीपल प्रॉब्ली हैव एवरेज्ड आउट एट $130,000 एंड एट दैट पॉइंट आपके जो नेट एसेट्स वर्थ थी जो कि कैपिटल के इक्वल होती है, यू कैन सी हियर इन दिस क्वेश्चन the capital of the business is $100,000, so that means net assets worth भी $100,000 होगी. हमने कोई MCQ भी किया था इसके ऊपर, if you remember. Capital represents the net assets worth of the business, right? So in this case, you probably have come up with the idea that the goodwill is probably worth $30,000. So to sum it up, there is no direct way to put a value, a dollar value on customer loyalty and relationship with banks and relationship with suppliers and good geographical location and the quality of staff. There is no direct way of valuing these advantages in dollar value. However, there is an indirect way of determining what could they bring you extra, and that is the indirect way. You put your business on sale and see what the interested parties are willing to pay you. If they are willing to pay you for your business for $130,000, which is worth $100,000, then you can say, acha, ye jo extra $30,000 they are willing to pay us, that is because of the goodwill of a business. Acha, okay, Alina says, acha, Alina, maybe aapka answer karta hu question, but up till this point, if we understand how the partners came up with the value of $30,000, so please mujhe feedback de dein jaldi se taaki फिर मैं फिर अलीना का क्वेश्चन आंसर करता हूँ अभी. Everyone, please raise your hand. This is a sensitive topic. I'm recording this lecture as well because I would want you to watch this again later on. So I want all the hands, all hand raises right now. ठीक है, अगर आपको कोई क्वेश्चन है तो आपने पूछना है, जैसे अलीना ने मुझसे पूछा है मैं भी उसका आंसर करता हूँ, लेकिन आई वांट टू मेक श्योर दैट एवरीवन इज ऑन बोर्ड. Alright. Okay, Alina says that she doesn't understand why someone would be paying $30,000 extra. Okay, Alina, आपका एक बिजनेस है जिसकी $100,000 वर्थ है, ठीक है. $100,000 का मतलब है कि आपके पास probably or let me take a fresh example. Let's change the values here. Okay, let's say Alina Sayed's balance sheet over here. Alina has started this business long time ago, and now this business is like 10-12 years old, and it has already become a going concern, and it's enjoying good customer loyalty, clientele, permanent clientele ban chuki hui hai, and people know the business and they are willing to trust in the services. So Alina की balance sheet के अंदर इस वक्त $80,000 के assets पड़े हुए और $20,000 की liabilities हैं. So how much would the business be worth with these values? $80,000 worth of assets and $20,000 worth of liabilities. What do you say, Alina? What is the net assets worth of your business? Or what is your business worth? Yes, $60,000, because assets minus the obligation will give you the net worth of your business, which is $60,000. So along come a customer, along a person who is an investor, and Alina को वो कहता है कि Alina अपना business $60,000 है मुझे बेच दे. Alina, would you sell your business for $60,000? Your business's current worth is $60,000, but are you going to sell this business for $60,000? Okay, no. And I accept the answer. This is the correct answer. Why would you sell your business for $60,000 worth when your business has so many associated profits which cannot be measured in money terms? You need to get those benefits from it. So I would say, okay, fine, I will pay you $80,000 or $90,000 for all the effort that you have made and to build up the reputation of this business. So if I offer you $80,000, you say नहीं अभी भी बहुत कम है, मैं कहता हूँ अच्छा जो $90,000 में we can seal the deal, and you agree कि ठीक है 90,000 is a good worthwhile price over here, because Alina is confident कि उसने एक business को zero से going concern पे ले गई, तो she can always do another business. She can always bring a new business from home. So she is confident that $90,000 is a good money. So Alina, अगर मैं आपको 90,000 में ये business acquire कर लूँगा और आपके business की net worth $60,000 थी, तो जो $30,000 का आपको profit हो रहा है on dissolution of your business, ये profit असल में क्या है? ये profit आपकी इस goodwill का reward है जो आपने over 10-12 years effort करके बनाई है, right? Do you agree with that? Okay. So that is how you calculate the value of the goodwill. You see the purchase consideration, that hypothetical selling price of your business, in which a willing buyer will be willing to pay you, and you compare it with the net assets worth in your statement of financial position, and then the difference will be goodwill. So in this case, the goodwill is valued at $30,000, right? And from the slides, we know that goodwill is a cost for the new firm's owner and a benefit for the old firm's owner. So what we will do is, let me just put the first entry over here. Goodwill is going to be a benefit for A and B. Remember, A and B are old owners, old firm's owners. So goodwill is going to be shared by A and B in their profit loss ratio, which was 2-1, right? So goodwill will be shared by these owners like this, right? $30,000 worth of goodwill. Now we know how we calculate the value of goodwill. And goodwill is the benefit for the old firm's owners, and that would mean that it will be treated like a surplus or a gain for them, and that will increase the profit. So capital account credit हो जाएगा, और goodwill में हमें इसकी debit side entries place कर देंगे, capital A and capital B, $20,000 and $10,000, right? So we agree with this entry. Then let me know by show of hands, please. Right. Goodwill is a gain for the old firm's owners. C will not be involved in this entry because C was not a part of the old firm. Goodwill का gain जो है वो सिर्फ old firm के owners से belong करता है, और goodwill का gain जो है वो सिर्फ और सिर्फ, thank you, वो सिर्फ old firm के owners ही उसको enjoy कर सकते हैं, right? ठीक है. I believe all hands raised. Yeah. Sorry, my son is a bit loud here. Okay, so goodwill. Now, goodwill's cost is going to be shared by new owner. And if goodwill is a cost, then the capital will suffer a loss. But whose capital? The new firm's owner, right? So goodwill's cost will be shared by the new firm's owners in their ratio, and you can see the ratio here is 3, 2, and 1 here, right? So Goodwill's cost is going to be shared by these owners. So ये कितना बन जाएगा? 3/6 of 30,000 is 1/2, which is 15,000. And then 2/6 is 1/3, 10,000 and 5,000. So Goodwill is being shared as the cost of Goodwill is shared by the new firm's owners in their new ratio, and Goodwill as a benefit is going to be enjoyed by old firm's owners in their old ratio. Since new firm's owners are acquiring the going concern status of the old firm, तो न्यू फर्म के ओनर्स को गुडविल की कॉस्ट बेयर करना पड़ेगी और ओल्ड फर्म के ओनर्स को गुडविल एज अ बेनिफिट, एज अ रिवॉर्ड फॉर देयर रिस्क दैट दे टुक सेवरल इयर्स अगो, उसके लिए उसको पे करना पड़ेगा. सो इनकी डबल एंट्रीज जो हैं, ये वाली एंट्रीज जो है डबल एंट्रीज, वो हमारे पास यहाँ पर आ गई, और इनकी डबल एंट्रीज जो है वो हमारे पास यहाँ पे चली जाएंगी, राइट? So we will have capital account for A, B, and C, $15,000, $10,000, and $5,000, right? So now if we understand the goodwill entries and treatment and how we decide on the side, how we decide on the ratios to choose, then please give me your feedback now. And why these things happen, how we arrive at the $30,000 of goodwill, and so on, right? All of this is done here today, right? Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We still have 4 people not showing their hands, right? Okay, everyone, please raise your hand if you understand what you see on the screen, right? Okay. Now, if we balance this account, so we will get the new capitals balance carried down over here. So A's capital would be $80,000 total minus $15,000. That would be $65,000, right? B's capital would be 50,000 minus 10,000. $40,000, and C's capital would be $15,000, right? So these are the capitals which will go to the new partnership deed. So new partnership deed will be formed. क्योंकि partnership has evolved now, so एक नया partnership agreement होगा, right? एक नई पार्टनरशिप डीड बनेगी, and these are the पुरानी वाली पार्टनरशिप डीड is no more. We don't need that anymore because now the new partnership has come into existence with C, a third partner, and 65,000, 40,000, and 15,000. These are the values that will be mentioned as capital in the new partnership deed, and this point onwards, they would want these values to be fixed, right? And when we look at the Goodwill account gets debited $30,000 and credited with $30,000, and this account is no more in the books. It's written off, right? Automatically. There is no balance carried down, or there's no balance to be carried forward to the next financial period. The two sides are equal, and there is no Goodwill account anymore, right? So this यहाँ तक समझ आ गई हमें? Another feedback, please. Hand raise here, right? Goodwill account ceases to exist. There is no Goodwill account left in the books, and capital accounts get updated with the treatment of Goodwill. And the new Goodwill, new capital account balances are going to be mentioned as permanent capitals of the new partners: 65,000, 40,000, and 15,000. And this is where the capitals will remain fixed. Okay, good. Take it. Now, just hang in there. Let me take you back to the last point, the 5th point here. जो हमने last पॉइंट हमने कहा था कि हम थोड़ी देर बाद आके उसको देखेंगे. Now let's see. Again, my cursor. Where is my cursor? Okay, now the partners in the new firm A, B, and C may decide to write off goodwill immediately, which is the preferred treatment. And what we just did, we wrote off the goodwill account, right? We followed the preferred treatment, right? Or they would want to retain it in the books and defer the treatment to a later date. अब ये जो सेकंड फेज है ना जिसके अंदर आपने बुक्स में गुडविल को रिटेन करना है, वो हम अगले 2-3 क्वेश्चंस के बाद देखेंगे. बट यू नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड दैट द प्रेफर्ड ट्रीटमेंट इज व्हेन द गुडविल अकाउंट इज इमीडिएटली रिटन ऑफ from the books, and that is your preferred treatment. And we know now why is it a preferred treatment, because inherent goodwill is directly conflicting with the money measurement principle. We cannot avoid the goodwill treatment because that will not do justice to the partners. But if we do goodwill treatment, that is going to violate a fundamental accounting principle called money measurement. So we have to do this. That is why it is preferred treatment, that you will treat the goodwill in a way that goodwill account will no longer exist in your books. So that is exactly what we did. जो सेकेंड हाफ ऑफ द पॉइंट 5 है वो हम आज नहीं करेंगे, वो हम कल करेंगे. लेकिन आज आज जो हमने किया, हमने अब नाउ पे अटेंशन टू गुडविल अकाउंट. गुडविल अकाउंट पहले डेबिट हो जाता है $30,000 से, और कैपिटल अकाउंट्स क्रेडिट हो गए ओल्ड फर्म के ओनर्स, राइट? और फिर गुडविल अकाउंट गेट्स क्रेडिटेड बाय $30,000 एंड द न्यू फर्म्स ओनर्स get to share the cost, and then goodwill account gets written off, which is the preferred treatment. In most of the cases that is going to be the case, right? You will be required to write off goodwill immediately on acquisition. And now if we take a look at the last statement of the question, it says it is the policy of the partnership to write off goodwill immediately after it arises, and that is how you do it, right? So you will see this in many different forms. अगले क्वेश्चन में अगर आप देखें तो उसने भी कहीं लिखा होगा goodwill is valued at $20,000. Now we know how we arrived at this $20,000. We must have done similar calculations, purchase considerations के साथ हमने net assets worth को compare किया होगा. So goodwill is valued at $20,000, but it was decided not to retain it in the books. That means goodwill account gets written off from the books, right? You can see in the next question as well, after Marcia's admission, goodwill is again valued at $20,000, but it is not to be retained in the books. So you can see it as a consistent theme, and very rarely you will find a statement over here that the partners decided to retain goodwill in the books and they will write it off in future because of some XYZ reasons. We will discuss those reasons later on. But right now, जितने भी आप questions देख रहे होंगे उन सब के अंदर आपके पास not to be retained in the firm's books. You can see it's always there. अच्छा, ये तो revaluation आगे शुरू होगी. So the first 4 questions, fourth question आपने नहीं करना. Fourth question या fifth question है? Let me just see. Just a second. There is one question where goodwill is already existing in the books. वो मैं करूँगा. वो भी आपने नहीं करना. हाँ, question number 3 आपने नहीं करना. And retirement. हाँ, क्वेश्चन नंबर 3 आपने अभी नहीं करना. क्वेश्चन नंबर 3 मैं कराऊंगा कल आपको. बाकी क्वेश्चन नंबर 1 हम कर चुके हैं. क्वेश्चन नंबर 2 and क्वेश्चन नंबर 4 are going to be done similar way as you can see right now on the screen how we did question number 1. So this is our today's class. अभी हमने structural changes में पहला structural change पढ़ रहे हैं, which is about admission of a partner. And the first formality involved is the value and treatment of goodwill. Then there is the second one that is going to be tomorrow, revaluation. उसके बाद फिर हम अगले structural changes पढ़ेंगे, retirement of partners, admission and retirement both happening at the same time. So this is a long chapter and we are going to go slow on that. And it's a very technical chapter as well. So don't worry, हम आहिस्ता आहिस्ता करेंगे एक एक question, one at a time, right? All right, so this is the end of the lesson. So you can leave if you want to, and if you need to ask any question, then stay back. Thank you, Alina. Thank you, Amal. Allah Hafiz.